Hi, everyone. It's an absolute delight to be with you, and I hope you're enjoying the expo so far and learning lots. In this session, I hope to share a little bit more with you around the next generation of digital workers. We call them digital experts, and in particular, to focus on the application area of digital service experts. As you're familiar with, the customer experiences, particularly post-COVID, as we're embracing more digital realities, have changed and increased exponentially. We are no longer happy as customers to have a company simply give us product information and expect for us to wade through that information online, or have a customer service person literally just offer us all the features and benefits, when we really want them to start with us. We want them to hear us, not for us to listen to them. We want for them to understand what it is that we need, so that they can work out in their huge, complex product sets, what are the solutions based on what my needs are that really can solve my problems. If I'm calling into a contact center with a query or a complaint, I want them to start really understanding what my issues are before they dive into solutions. So this demand for user centricity, really understand me first before you dive into what you want to say about what you've got in your product line or your solution sets, is pervasive. But also that I increasingly want options. I don't want to only be able to have that level of support if I go via a contact center or a retail branch, for example. I want to have that level of support, whether I choose to engage with you via my mobile, your chat, web, whatever the case. So it's really the sense of give me the same level of customer experience, irrespective of which channel I choose, and please start with me. As a result, they also are demanding the level of support to be consistent across these channels. The first area that we've all targeted in really optimizing, particularly in the automation space, is to make working with us, the company, for example, easy. So if you do know what you want to do, we need to make sure that you can do it very quickly, that with 1, 2, 3 clicks of a button, we can transfer your money, make that order, etc. So a lot of focus in the initial automation space has been on improving and optimizing the efficiency of the administrative components, making it very simple for you to work with us, and using digital workforces to do a lot of the work so that you don't have to do a lot of the work, as well as really rethinking processes to become far more adaptive and a lot more efficient. But as we move into a next level of support, we're starting to find the automation space a little bit more complicated. For example, when we move into a space where I know what my problem is, I'm overwhelmed by the solutions I'm seeing on your website. Or for example, I know what my complaint's all about, I just don't know how to get it solved in your company. I will now start looking for a level of assistance. So it's a bit like going to a pharmacy and saying, I know I've got a sore throat. I just don't know which of these products to choose. I chose not to do it self-service, walking through the aisles, because I got a little bit confused. I need your help. And it's at this point that you then ask for a person to offer assistance. Now, assistance is really a solution-centered model. It is where a person's questions are based on the products or the solutions they have in their basket to work out which one to give you. So a pharmacist is very good at asking questions to work out what products to give you. They might say, do you have an allergy? It's got nothing to do with your throat. It's got to do with which of the cough syrups they can give you that won't flare that allergy. And that's very helpful if you're absolutely certain that you've got a sore throat and a cough syrup will solve it. But if you've been taking that cough syrup for 2 weeks and you've still got a sore throat, it's when you need the next level of support. And that is expertise. You actually need somebody who's going to start in the problem domain, not their solutions. That's why you pay to go to a doctor. They're an expert. That's why you pay to go to a financial advisor or an insurance broker that is not product-centered, but rather focuses on your needs. And this level of expert sits and says, when I do problem diagnostic or need analysis, I really want to unpack what is the root cause of this. So in your throat, after analyzing your throat, I might realize it's going to do a flu. You've actually got a cancerous growth there. You could have had as much Linctifed or cough syrup as you'd want. Is never going to solve that problem. And it is the value of really understanding the problem and the root cause of that problem that makes the solution work. And that's why it's so frustrating when you can't get access to experts. So you keep trying to solve the problem with products that then don't work for you and that you then exit on. So the value of experts is in the identification of the problem, not necessarily just handing on the solution. And that's why you pay a lot. And customers are saying, I want, depending on where I'm at, if I know what I'm doing, give me effective administration and automation. But if I don't know my problem, give me an expert. And what you're starting to find, just in broader terms, is that companies are realizing these three levels are increasingly able to be offered through a digital channel and through technologies or emerging technologies. And if you look at the stats, around 41% of phone communication is going to drop to potentially 12% by 2022. That's an enormous drop, which means a lot of digital self-service is going to be done by customers via the various digital channels. And so what they are doing is they are really focusing in on the low-hanging fruit. Is let's make administration easy for us. So when a customer knows what they want to do, they've got the answer, they just need to do it quickly. Let's make sure our interfaces are simple. We're using a lot of digital workers to do the heavy lifting and the automation behind so that the customer doesn't need to do it. But also in the contact center, let's stop asking our staff to alt tab through 5 or 6 systems. Why don't we give them a unified desktop, such as Service Assist, and then let the digital workers go and do all of that system work. We can just make it simple and easy for them to administer calls that are coming in. So if they understand what they need to do, let's just make it quick and easy for them. And that's where, for example, Blue Prism have excelled, is this, how do we make administration very quick and easy by leveraging the power of digital workers, exceptionally powerful doers. When it comes to assistance, what's interesting is that a lot of work has really targeted the chatbot world. And that's where the chatbots are saying, they are becoming, I suppose, better at giving the user a kind of a natural language experience. They can really make you feel like you're talking to a human. The difficulty, though, is that in many cases, they are not very good at understanding what you want. We're still getting there with the NLU, natural language understanding. And so it's a frustrating, at this point, in many companies, assistance is a frustrating level of support. I go to a chatbot. First of all, it doesn't understand me. When it does understand me, it tends to try and predict an answer in a knowledge base or some kind of prescribed outcome, and it feeds back that information and says, is this helpful? Is this helpful? And generally it's not helpful because it's generic. I've got a very specific problem and you're giving me a very generic answer. So what we're finding is chatbots aren't really solving a lot of customers' challenges, and they're reverting back to humans because they're saying, I keep asking this chatbot for a specific answer or outcome, and they simply either don't understand me, or the answers they give are just too generic or inaccurate for my context. So there's a bit of work that still needs to be done at this assistance level to get really customers feeling that the answers are pertinent and relevant to their needs. And that then talks to expertise, which very few organizations are able to even consider getting digital. And that's just because it is so challenging for them, particularly in the regulated environment, to make sure that they have a digital brain or expert capable of really sitting on the customer's domain and saying, let me understand you. Can I ask the relevant questions? Can I unpack the relevant information, really work out your needs or your problem statement before diving to those solutions? And that I can do it in a way that's totally traceable and compliant, because I may be in a regulated environment like a bank, etc. It's not just about me trying to predict stuff, which is more the assistance side. It's rather the listening or sitting with where you're at, asking the questions, not trying to predict them. And so that has tended to be an area which is almost the holy grail in the digital space, in the automation. Many companies are still at the administrative, and many of them aren't even getting that right. From an assistance perspective, chatbots are kind of getting there, but again, the answers are very generic, and often the assistance is frustrating and very few at the expert level. But I think that's now starting to change, because there's been an emergence of digital expert technology that can fundamentally unlock, in fact, the assistance as well as the expert level. Now, these digital experts work very much like human experts. If you have to think about in your contact center, what makes a human expert? You know, what is the difference of a human expert to a non-expert? And really what it is they may both understand your products, policies, and procedures, in other words, the rules. Where they differ is that the experts can apply those rules in context. They can start with any situation, and they can have, through experience, known, okay, I know now what questions to ask, etc., to adjust to that situational context. So they're adaptive to situations, and that's why it takes them many years to work that out, because it's through experience of many situations that they see the patterns, and then they know what questions to ask. And it's very hard to capture that logic. But that's what a digital expert does compared to a digital worker. A digital worker is someone that executes based on a formula in a way unthinkingly. You give it information, it executes on the rails. It's not going to think for you on the journey. A digital expert, though, is going to start with a situation and say, let me first understand the situation before I drive an execution of the outcome. Now, there are 4 things that digital service experts particularly do well. The first is they are very good at need analysis. They're starting with the customer needs, not the products, and they can really understand and unpack and question and tease out, what are your specific needs? Understand inference. Can I infer certain needs based on what you've said? Can I pick up some related needs? Excuse me. And then can I also help you prioritize those, so that we don't just keep going, but that we can work 1 or 2, and then we can look at solutioning to that. So that need analysis component, before we then start going over to decisioning engines to drive the other solutions to those needs, is an area that digital service specialists are very good at. They're also very good at diagnosing problems. So in a contact center, inbound calls, queries, for example, complaints or claims, what they're great at doing is, first of all, knowing how to categorize this very specific call or claim or query. And once I've categorized it, how to unpack and work out the root cause of that, so that when we start looking for solutions, it is totally relevant to the context of that particular customer situation. So it's in that diagnostic of the root cause analysis that they're great. They're also very good in information gathering. Now, one of the challenges you have in information gathering, typically if you're using standard forms or decision tree kind of logic, is that it's very generic style, it's non-contextual. So in, for example, commercial underwriting, if you want to get a quote for insurance on a commercial building, the information that you need to give an underwriting engine is quite significant, because you also need to be able to have it all within the context of that building. And for example, that building might be in a certain area. Now, that certain area will result in additional information needing to be taken. So an example, it could be in Gauteng versus Western Cape. If it's in Gauteng, you may need to do some lightning protection analysis. In Western Cape, you may not. And so what happens is that based on the situation, based on what you're seeing as you're unpacking the data, you may need to ask for more information or related information. Again, that takes often people 10 years to learn the art of questioning and getting it in context. Now, that's really where digital service experts excel, is they can handle highly complex questioning in context. And so that they can feed then these operating systems with all the information that can drive straight through processing. The 4th area is that they can also, where you have procedural logic that sits outside of systems, it's executed manually at the moment, they can actually then navigate people through those manual processes, so that in context, so that they get it right every time. So they almost act like GPSs of policies and procedures that sit in the front office outside of the operating systems. Now, that talks to what they do, but it's not just what they do that makes digital experts stand out compared to, say, for example, digital workers. It's actually about how they do it. Now, there are 6 areas where you really should be looking to your digital expert to demonstrate. The first is their ability to truly diagnose to the end level. In other words, this digital expert needs to be able to really get down to the granular root cause of something and not be bound by, as I said, decision tree thinking, where you can't go into end level diagnostics. It needs to be able to cope with constant diagnostic levels until it gets to root cause, because unless it can do that, you really will continue to have generic customer solutions and frustrated customer experiences. The other is they need to be contextual. So one of the things that you're going to be really looking for is as every customer situation changes, if you've got data, for example, on the customer, that digital expert needs to be able to leverage that data and only ask questions of the customer that are outstanding and totally take them on a journey that is almost tailored to that customer. Think of them almost as multidimensional GPSs, that the roads are the roads. That don't try and self-learn the roads or predict new roads, because regulations and compliance are prescribing these roads. But what they do very well is they adapt the route of those roads to each customer's context. So again, inheriting data, and based on answers given, they are able to adjust dynamically. So as a customer, I feel this experience is shaped to me. I'm not being taken through the sausage machine. The next key how that you should look out for is your digital expert works in an ecosystem of interfaces, and customers want to access this digital expert via different interfaces. So it needs to be interface agnostic. It mustn't force you into a specific interface that you now have to adopt. You will have web interfaces. You probably have NLU chat interfaces. You'll have, for example, contact center front ends. What you need is this digital expert to be able to hook into those existing interfaces and offer the expert logic that it can provide through the existing interfaces. So make sure that your digital experts are interface agnostic and they don't tie you in to the interface themselves, but give you the option of having your own. The fourth area to look out for is the ability to be agile. When you're dealing with large at scale, lots of products, moving rules, moving contexts, you need to be able to build and maintain the logic that's needed to drive this level of expertise at the granular level in a very agile way. So when the business changes a rule, makes a new decision, adds a new product, you need to be able to update that pretty quickly across all the all the channels. And so what is an important thing to look out for is the ability for your digital expert to have the logic adjust and align to new product rules, new changes very quickly, and not then be hooked into new codes, waterfall challenges where it takes months to update each of the interfaces to reflect the latest changes only for another change to happen. The logic needs to be modular, data-centric, and preferably be able to be adjusted through low code in authoring so that business can own their logic as opposed to needing the tech guys. And the fifth area is from a compliance and risk perspective, is really making sure your digital expert can prove not only it's not going rogue on you and self-learning stuff that you don't want and just adjusting the conversations as it wishes, and also that it can't validate that it did the right thing. But you need your digital expert to give you that absolute assurance that will ask the right questions at the right time as you have prescribed to it. It will offer the right advice, but it'll also have a detailed record of the entire customer journey at the end level, both from a compliance perspective, but actually more importantly, it needs to give you this data so that you are learning more and more about every customer journey and every customer. And that data can point to data lakes so that it can drive your business insights, getting greater insights across all your channels, as well as building up your customer data so that you are getting more and more accurate in your predictions around that customer. So that the ability to not only offer the records, but then to be able to leverage that data becomes absolutely critical. The final one is that your digital expert is going to operate within an ecosystem. It needs to be able to work, for example, with your own cognitive services, as well, which you will probably have, as well as your digital workforce, for example, your Blue Prism digital workers, because it's the concert between the digital expert that's asking all of the questions and really unpacking the needs and validating it with customer, and then handing over to the Blue Prism digital workforce to go and execute across the systems and come back and say it's done. It's that partnership that allows for end-to-end automation to happen. And you really do need to make sure your digital expert can work in partnership within your ecosystem. So an example, for example, of how this should probably work is that your digital expert will work just below your interface layer. It'll be really the navigational logic that is, again, asking all of the relevant questions, gathering all the information, but that it can, from a contact center agent perspective, be embedded into a unified desktop, such as Service Assist, so that they don't have to be trained on any of the products or policies or call types. Instead of, if you've got 1,000 call center agents, typically in Teams, and you've got IVR trying to find the brain to answer the question, you can actually have your entire workforce open to answer any of those calls without worrying about it, because their digital expert will navigate them live through that call in context and make it extremely simple for them to work from an efficiency perspective. But what's powerful is that that same logic will then hook into all of your other digital self-service interfaces, so that the customer feels that they're dealing with the same expert in the same way, irrespective of the channel interface they choose. And then behind that digital expert, the digital expert is handing all of the instructions back into the work queue for the Blue Prism digital workforce team to go and execute across the myriad of different systems that are behind, so that all of that complexity is hidden from the customer and hidden from the staff member. And that little ecosystem becomes extremely powerful as you move forward. What I'm going to now just illustrate is a case study of how this can work and why it's so powerful.
Meet Riley. Riley is a digital support expert, built, deployed, and maintained by the automation team of a large bank. Riley was built using a combination of both Blue Prism and CLEVVA. CLEVVA is a platform that allows you to automate the contextual front office process logic that experts apply when engaging with customers. The name Riley was voted for by the staff, a name they felt combined the key concepts of expertise with user simplicity. Riley embodies this concept by providing both staff and customers with a one-stop digital support expert. Contact center staff can access Riley via an embedded iframe in their system screen, allowing Riley to navigate them through calls in real time. Customers can access Riley via the company's website, mobile app, IVR, or messaging platform like WhatsApp or SMS. Acting like a real-time expert, Riley uses CLEVVA to understand the customer's specific needs before looking to offer relevant solutions. This ensures that Riley meets all onboarding and regulatory requirements during the engagement journey. To fetch required customer or product data from relevant operational systems, CLEVVA leverages the power of Blue Prism. This allows Riley to automatically shape the front office support journey so that it reflects each customer's specific context, while keeping the engagement as short as possible. Once CLEVVA has successfully navigated the support engagement journey, Blue Prism ensures that the resulting system processing is automatically executed. This means that no matter what channel customers choose, they can have their needs analyzed and have a relevant solution crafted, one that is processed immediately. Riley took roughly 12 weeks to build. The first 2 weeks involved analyzing every query that customers may require help with. This included identifying all the products, policies, procedures, and context variables that could impact how experts resolve these queries. The team also used this time to analyze the technical landscape, ensuring that Riley would work within the existing ecosystem. With the help of the business, the team prioritized the list of all possible customer support journeys. In order to automate the front office process logic, the team used CLEVVA Author's powerful mix of decision flows, dynamic forms, coded logic, and tables. The resulting back office system processes were also automated, using Blue Prism's Object Studio. Using APIs, the resulting front and back office process flows were connected, enabling further interoperability. This allowed the team to successfully build, test, and deploy the selected user stories that were planned for the first Agile sprint. Once they were satisfied that Riley could conduct a full need analysis within the first prioritized category, the team turned their attention to the remaining categories. Within a couple of months, Riley was able to complete every known support journey, equivalent to an expert. Riley was warmly received by the business. The contact center team no longer had to spend as much time training agents. They could rely on Riley to navigate their staff through every query. This not only transformed staff into first-rate agents, but also allowed staff to focus their energy on maximizing the customer experience. The quality assurance team were also delighted with Riley. They now felt confident that every support query across all the staff-assisted and digital channels would always be handled in a consistent, compliant, and context-relevant way. Customers also loved dealing with Riley. They found Riley's ability to ask them relevant questions, offer relevant answers, and then ensure resulting actions were performed quickly was a breath of fresh air. Riley has been so successful at transforming customer support that the company is now looking to build other digital specialists to tackle all key front office process areas across the business. You too can make your staff and customers' lives simpler by offering them a digital expert. Blue Prism and CLEVVA, your digital workforce for omnichannel process automation.
So to summarize, what these digital service experts can do in your automation ecosystem is ultimately unlock your digital workers to focus on executing decisions that have been taken in context, and that they are the right decisions. They are based on the right needs, the right problems, the right information. And so you won't be having breaks in those automation spaces. But to summarize, what it ultimately can do for the business at a broader level is that your first touch resolutions for your customers can increase dramatically. They don't need to be sent from pillar to post trying to find somebody who knows what to say or how to solve the problem. They're going to be able to access that digital expert through any of the channels, and that digital expert will be able to solve the problem with the help of the digital worker team to go and execute for them. So it really fundamentally changes your ability to drive first touch resolution across the channels. It also changes the call journey or the customer journey time, because with all the automation happening, you're getting efficiencies, your processes are short, but also it's the digital expert's only asking the questions it needs to ask to get to the answer. It's leveraging all the other data that's available so that you don't go through these generic journeys. So you really have optimized journeys. The third part is your customers experience a very tailored journey to them, but not only are the right questions asked and the right answers given, but staff don't have to worry about where they're going. It's a bit like an Uber driver. You can focus on the conversation with your customers without worrying about getting lost. And so they can really focus on tailoring conversations, the EQ side, the hearing side, the emotion side, as opposed to thinking, what question must I ask next or what must I do next? From a compliance perspective, you can be assured that everything is going to be asked correctly, the right information will be gathered, etc. So your quality assurance teams don't need to be doing post-call analysis on what was said, because the right information was said and you've got that rubber stamped. It's more about the quality of the experience they can analyze. In addition, your insights into every customer journey and every customer will accelerate, because you'll have detailed information on every customer journey and what was said and what was done. Plus, that data can start enhancing the predictive accuracies linked to each of those customers. And then finally, your ability to dramatically reduce cost to serve by having agents that are generic agents that can handle all customer inbound calls without having to be specialists, with a fraction of the historical training. And then also having customers being able to self-solve through the digital without always ending into the contact center will result in a dramatic change in the cost structure. So with the adoption of digital service experts in partnership with the digital workforce of Blue Prism, we believe that you can fundamentally transform your customer service experience and differentiate yourself globally. I hope you found this interesting. And if you've got any questions, I'll be waiting for you in the lobby. Have a fantastic rest of your conference.